Well, Palestinians have taken huge risks, hoping to receive just a small amount of food. Videos from the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation show the contents of the boxes that are being distributed to starving Palestinians. They include canned goods like beans and vegetables, bottled items like vine leaves and flour, pasta, oil, biscuits and tea. Aid experts say what people in Gaza desperately need is nutritious food that is ready to eat because, of course, there is scarcity of water and fuel to cook these supplies, and that puts people at even greater risk. Experts also say when aid is delivered by recognised organisations, the people who receive it are registered, advised and monitored for malnutrition to make sure the vital food support reaches those that are most vulnerable. But that, of course, is not happening in Gaza. Let's speak now to Dr. Mads Gilbert. He's an emergency medicine doctor who has provided healthcare in Gaza for over 30 years. He joins us from Tromsø in Norway. Thank you so much for your time. The GHF was brought in by the Israelis and the Americans despite the fact there was already a well-established, experienced system of UN aid provision in place in Gaza. In your view, as more footage emerges like the one from the Associated Press, does it begin to look like this was a definitive plan to militarize aid, to use as a means of causing chaos and murdering Palestinians?
Absolutely, 100%. This is part of the Israeli occupation forces and the Israeli government plan to ethnically cleanse and to fulfill their goal of genocide in Gaza. This has nothing to do with alleviating the starvation in Gaza. Two important points. Number one, the food parcels are grossly inadequate to provide the needed calories and the content needed to feed the people of Gaza. But more importantly, number two, the structure of these 4 distribution points are completely in line with the Israeli military objectives to control, to eliminate, and to scare the Palestinian population. The first point, the inadequacy of the content. There is no dairy or eggs in the parcels, neither in physical form or in powdered form. There is no infant formula desperately needed by the newborns and the children. And there are no added vitamins or minerals in the content of food. And the important point, of course, it needs cooking, and there are almost no cooking facilities available in Gaza. They only contain 1,750 kilocalories per parcel versus the basic recommended need by WHO, which is 2,500. So the food content by itself is not sufficient, and it is way below what the UNRWA system provided before it was broken. The second point, however, the structure of the 4 distribution points was just recently on the 1st of June reported in a report by an associate Israeli professor, Yaakov Garb, who reports that in conclusion, the consistent internal architecture all suggests that the design of the 4 distribution points is predominantly responsive to Israeli military strategy and tactics rather than aimed at a broad humanitarian relief intervention, unquote. He has been analyzing satellite footage, and he has been able to document that the architecture of each of the 4 distribution points is intended to control, to create fear, and to enable killing of starving people coming to the 4 distribution points. And notably, there is no distribution point north of the Netzarim corridor, which means that the 1 million or so people in Gaza City and around have no access to these distribution points. So this is clearly part of the genocidal intent of the Israeli government, and it needs to be completely condemned, but not only condemned verbally, it needs to be stopped by forceful actions of the Western governments who so far have been supporting these systematic attacks on the basic human rights of the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Okay, Dr. Mads, a point that the GHF will come back to you on is they will say that they have delivered more than 52 million meals in 5 weeks, while other aid organizations stand by helplessly as their aid is looted. How does that defense stack up?
Well, like the other lies from the Israeli occupation forces, the Israeli government, and this GHF is only a subsidiary of the Israeli occupation of Gaza. It has nothing to do with international relief organizations or the principles of international relief. They may brag as much as they like, but it still comes down to lying. And as I said, the content of these boxes are grossly insufficient. The distribution organization is aimed at using food as a bait to attract starving people, to terrorize them, and then to kill them.
Okay.
And the shooting of people in food lineup is a war crime that I don't think we have seen before.
Dr. Mads, I just want to go into more detail on the content of these boxes. You already mentioned they don't contain any infant formula. There are no hygiene products, no protein or limited protein sources and fresh items, fresh food. From a nutritional point of view, what sort of impact is this going to have on people long term?
Well, we see it on the video clips. We see that people are fighting desperately to get the boxes. They are aimed at feeding 5.5 people for 3.5 days. What is that for a starving population, a man-made starving population of 2.1 million people? It's nothing. It's a drip in the ocean. And the General Secretary of the UN just recently stated that the UN systems have the equivalent of 9,000 truckloads of food, water, medical supplies, and hygiene products ready to enter Gaza. So this is nothing but a sham operation in order to increase the pressure of on the Palestinian population in order to have them surrender. They will not surrender. They would rather die than to live in this indignity that the combination of starvation, lack of habitat, living in a tent, and having tens to hundreds killed every day. So I think it's time now to understand that what was the moral black stain on the last century, the horrible Nazi Holocaust of the Jewish people, for this century, it is the Zionist horrible genocide going on in the concentration camp of Gaza in full daylight with the coverage of the cameras. I mean, all of this is so systematic, aimed at getting rid of the Palestinian population. It will be the great moral stain on our century.
Dr. Mads Gilbert, emergency medicine doctor and professor of healthcare in Gaza for 30 years. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.